Hey everyone, Jarek the Gaming Dragon here. If you're already subscribed and you haven't clicked that bell, be sure to do that, otherwise YouTube won't tell you that I posted anything. If you haven't subscribed, well, watch this video and maybe consider subscribing if you like it. I love Halo. Longtime viewers of this channel know how much I like this franchise, as I used to spam this channel with Halo content. I put thousands of hours into every Halo game, and even though I played the campaigns quite a few times, it's always the multiplayer that keeps me coming back. Halo multiplayer is easy to pick up but difficult to master. There's always something to get better at, and it makes me want to just keep playing the game. I started with Halo 1 and I've never really stopped. I still play the old Halo games to this day, and I still play the new games. With how much experience I have with the Halo franchise, I figure I might as well rank the Halo multiplayer from worst to best. Needless to say, this is an opinion piece, and I know opinions don't go quite well on the internet. I've made videos like this in the past, and they generally get a good amount of views, but they also make people pretty upset, because you just can't have a wrong opinion on the internet. Otherwise you get tons of comments calling you a f***ing pussy for being incorrect. Because that's gonna change my opinion, I guess. My point being is that I should clarify what I look for in a Halo multiplayer game before making this list, as it's probably something different than what you look for. For starters, I'm not taking the campaigns into account at all for this list. We're purely talking about multiplayer. Secondly, and most importantly, is that I tend to value the competitive aspect of Halo more than the casual side. This isn't to say that I devalue casual at all, but my usual routine when I go to play Halo is to play competitive for a few hours, burn my brain out, and then I just want to go to Team Action Sack or something. I love both a lot, but I definitely lean a little more to competitive than casual. So with that all out of the way, let's start with the easy worst in the entire franchise, Halo 4. Halo 4's multiplayer simply does not feel like a Halo game. Halo's best aspect is its simplicity. Everyone spawns with the same weapons on the same map, you know where every weapon spawns on the map, you know where every power weapon spawns and the timings that they will spawn, you know where their power-ups are going to be spawned, and you know what are the strongest positions on said map. If you're paying attention and you're experienced enough in the game, you should know where everything is and who has what. Yeah, none of this applies with Halo 4. Halo 4 took a more Call of Duty loadout system approach that just doesn't fit with Halo. You never know what the other opponent might have because you can spawn with any weapon in the game. You can drop someone's shields and know that everything around you is completely safe to go clean up that kill, but maybe they spawned with a bolt shot that will kill you in one hit, or maybe they spawned with a plasma pistol for a noob combo. Who knows? There is no keeping track of this, and to make things even worse, the weapons on launch had horrible weapon balancing. For some reason the battle rifle was a 5-burst kill, I don't know why they changed that from a 4-burst from every other Halo game before, and the DMR was blatantly better than everything else. Weapon balancing did get patched later on, but this happened so much later that the game had already lost most of its players. To make things worse, power weapons also didn't work the same way. Once you got a certain amount of points, you could call in a random power weapon to drop wherever you are, so they could have any power weapon. You had no idea what they had. To add on top of all of this, they could also spawn with whatever Spartan ability they wanted to. So you know that lovely feeling of armor lock randomly in Reach? Well, this is going to happen all the time in Halo 4, except for with many different Spartan abilities because you don't know what they have. And of course they added unlimited sprint for everyone with no downsides. So that idiot that just ran into the open, well, he can just kind of sprint away after you ping his shields a few times. You can put yourself into some truly awful positions in Halo 4 and still get away with it thanks to sprint. Again, this was not a Halo game, and the only good thing that came out of it was making 343 realize that what they valued in a game, no one else valued in a game. I'm aware I am missing a lot of things. Let's just say Halo 4 was a train wreck and move on to the next game. The next one is a fairly divisive game in the Halo franchise, Halo Reach. A lot of people love to blame 343 for quote-unquote killing Halo, but they seem to forget that all of this started with Halo Reach, a Bungie game. Again, we're not talking about the campaign. Reach's campaign is great, but the multiplayer left a lot to be desired. Its multiplayer is interesting because at its core, at its base, is a great Halo game, but there are just so many questionable things thrown on top of it. Almost all of Halo 4's problems are here in one way or another, just not as extreme. Loadouts are here, although you can't put anything you want into them, they are a set loadout, but that still adds a bit of randomness that you cannot predict. You don't know if that person around the corner has sprint, jetpack, or the dreaded armor lock. There is no way to predict for any of this. But the thing that got me more than anything else was Bloom. I know we've talked about it so much, but this is an awful idea. People will defend it by saying, oh, well, you just need to pace your shots, but the problem is that there's still RNG involved with this.
Gold. This game sucks. This game fucking sucks.
Shit like this should never happen, and the worst part about it is that you could be mashing the trigger as hard as you can and still occasionally get a kill. When someone mashing a pistol up close beats someone else pacing their shots with the DMR, there's a problem here. And speaking of the DMR, Bloom made it feel terrible. This is the worst utility weapon I've felt in any Halo game. It just felt bad. It was nowhere near as satisfying as the battle rifle as old, purely because of Bloom. When you remove Bloom, the DMR still feels pretty good. Again, people love to blame 343 for killing off Halo, but Reach is really where it started. And I know someone's going to reply by saying, but Reach outsold all the previous Halo games. That's true, but the player count also dropped significantly faster than any of the previous ones did before. Reach sold well because it was riding out the success of Halo 3. If it was as good as Halo 3, it would retain players just as much as Halo 3 did. But it didn't. Not even close. Reach is also where the competitive scene completely died. And I don't want to hate Reach. Reach is a beautiful game. It has my favorite art style in the entire franchise. At its core, it's a good Halo game. But then when you factor in everything else thrown on top of it that just don't fit Halo, it drags it down a lot, to the point of where I couldn't even enjoy it. The competitive scene died with Reach for a reason. Not because there wasn't interest in Halo, but because it just wasn't as good of a Halo game. I will say that Forge was fantastic for Halo Reach, and the custom games were some of the most fun I ever had. But I don't think this makes up for the base game. Reach and Halo 4 have the only Halo multiplayer that I genuinely did not enjoy. Everything from here on out, I loved. So if I rank your favorite game underneath another game that I simply just enjoyed more, don't take it as me saying that game is bad, take it as me saying these are both legendary games that deserve to be remembered. I just like this one a little bit more. I know this isn't going to stop angry comments down below, but just roll with it. Alright, you're going to be mad, I know, but I'm putting Halo 3 next. Halo 3 was arguably the height of Halo. I remember the midnight launches, the ridiculous media all around Halo 3, and I loved the game. I have so many good memories of it. It fixed a lot of the problems I had with Halo 2, most notably Halo 2 just kind of being a little bit of a buggy mess at times, and the battle rifle being horribly overpowered compared to everything else in the game. This was the first Halo game on the next generation of consoles at the time, being the 360, and it looked pretty beautiful back for 2007. Maps were designed well, and I really don't have much but praise to say about Halo 3's multiplayer. So why am I ranking it below Halo 2? Honestly, I'm ranking it a little bit lower for one reason alone, and that's the gunplay with the utility weapons. Halo 2 was hitscan based, meaning that the moment you pulled the trigger, that bullet hit wherever your reticle was. Halo 3 was projectile based, meaning an actual projectile is firing from your weapon. This is fine, that's how Halo 1 did it, but the biggest thing that drove me crazy about Halo 3 is how slow they traveled. You had to lead your targets when they were only a good 20 feet away from you, and this felt really cumbersome when the aim assist was trying to drag you back. On top of this, the battle rifle was only 100% accurate on the first shot of the burst, and then the next two shots were 10% inaccurate. In general, for me, comparatively to Halo 2, the battle rifle and carbine felt really bad. This isn't to say I couldn't do well with them, I did perfectly fine, it just didn't feel anywhere near as satisfying. This is honestly the only reason, and I know it might be controversial because Halo 3 is seen as the height of the Halo franchise, and it certainly was the height of Halo MLG, but for me, the gunplay just didn't feel as good, and that's the biggest thing when it comes to a shooter. The gunplay is the core basis of the entire game, and if it doesn't feel that good, especially with the utility weapon, it's not going to feel as good as the other games to me. I know, bring in the downvotes and the angry comments because we're getting even more controversial by me putting Halo 5 above Halo 3. Again, we're purely talking about the multiplayer here. If we were talking about the campaign, Halo 5 would be the worst in the franchise, but we're not. We're just talking about the multiplayer, and I've never seen a game have such a good multiplayer and such a bad campaign. It's always really obvious when someone hasn't played Halo 5. They usually start talking about how Halo 5 is just Call of Duty again, and no. It doesn't feel anything like Call of Duty, what are you talking about? They usually cite that it's now sprint with ADS, but the ADS animation is just that, it's an animation. You still get descope, it still feels like Halo scoping. And sprinting, although it does exist, has major downsides. As you're sprinting, your shield does not come back. If you were being shot, you cannot start sprinting. This stops the problems of Halo 4 and Halo Reach of just being able to sprint out of anything. In general, Halo 5 is really where 343 started to bring back what made Halo, Halo. Everyone spawned with the assault rifle and the pistol. Everyone knew where everything was going to spawn on the map. Nothing was random, and this game was heavily fixated on trying to bring back competitive Halo specifically. For me, I was extremely excited about this, and I loved how it felt. This felt like Halo 2 and 3, but a little bit faster to me. However, that kind of brings up what Halo 5's biggest problem was at launch. there was really only something for competitive players to do. I'm not knocking on it at all for this because nowadays Halo 5 has so much content. There is enough for everyone, casual or competitive, but at launch there really was only competitive. So even though that might kind of help for me, I can just kind of jump in and go, alright, how can I get better at this game? How can I learn this map? How can I get better with this gun? That doesn't help casual players that just want to jump in and maybe do Mongoose Sumo. But alas, within time we ended up getting stuff like Team Action Sack and SWAT and all this playlist that we should have had, and a lot of extra content that didn't even need to be made. Halo 5 saw constant updates, and it finally allowed us to do things like have the Halo 1 pistol against the Halo 2 BR. It gave us plenty of new maps for competitive and casual modes alike. It gave us plenty of casual playlists. It gave us plenty of new game modes. By the end of Halo 5's lifetime, there was so much content. And really the only downside about Halo 5 I can talk about is the aim. I've complained about this a lot, but for some reason they felt the need to change how acceleration works. Instead of it slowly speeding up your aim to the left when you hold down left, there is now a very clear cutoff point to where you change sensitivities mid-turning left. Somewhere around pushing your analog stick to the left around 75 or 80% of the way, suddenly your aim speeds up. It's like you hit a wall of two different sensitivities. This made it feel like I was fighting the game on top of fighting my opponents, and I never got used to it. I don't know why they felt the need to change what was previously the best console aiming we had, but they did, and it felt awful. It really made me want to have Halo 5 on PC so I could just aim with my mouse and not worry about it. And I know Forge was on PC, but I mean truly proper Halo 5 with the ranked playlists and everything. Regardless, as much as this sucks, I love how Halo 5 brought back what made Halo Halo. We hadn't seen a true Halo game since Halo 3 as far as the multiplayer is concerned. Reach and 4 both added random things that didn't need to be there. Halo 5 got rid of those random aspects and managed to keep the Spartan abilities in a way that made everyone have the same thing. You know what your options are. I can understand not liking the Spartan abilities, but you still know what people can do. So for all of these reasons, I found getting better at Halo 5 to be incredibly satisfying. And yes, that's even with all of the automatics. I did not have a problem with the automatics getting better because they were so garbage in the previous games. I found this to be a good thing. More weapon variety is not bad. This doesn't ruin the utility weapons, and Halo is not just about utility weapons and nothing else. Next up on the list is Halo 2. I put so many hours into Halo 2 when I was in high school. It was one of the de facto games to play. When you would get out of school or practice or scouts or whatever you had that day, you'd go to your friend's house and you'd play some Halo 2. Now I do have a lot of complaints about Halo 2. It's not exactly the most polished game, it's kind of rushed, there's a lot of bugs, and the button combos really broke balance. Now you can argue that this raised the skill gap, but I would argue that it only raised the tech barrier people needed to get into competitive Halo, and I don't like that. I like having a deeper game. This is why I'm perfectly fine with the fact that advanced tech exists in things like Super Smash Bros. Melee, but I don't like how hard it is to do and having very little way to teach people how to do it. This is why I prefer games like, say, Rivals of Aether and Slap City, which still has this advanced tech, but it's easier to do and it teaches players how to do it. Basically, it makes the players feel like they're fighting each other rather than the game. In Halo 2, if you had these button combos down, you were simply leagues above people that didn't. And to make things even worse, the battle rifle is already the most overpowered weapon in the entire Halo franchise. Don't get me wrong, it feels amazing to use and is incredibly satisfying, but it's completely broken compared to the other weapons in the game. You're probably yelling at your screen, what about the Halo 1 pistol? But keep in mind, everything killed faster in Halo 1. In Halo 2, within its respective game, nothing could compete with the Halo 2 battle rifle unless it was a power weapon. And even then, it could still sometimes check them. I'm not talking about a world where the Halo 1 pistol would beat the Halo 2 pistol if they fought head on, I'm talking about within their respective games. Yet despite all of these complaints I have years later, I have nothing but fond memories for this game and simply cannot put it down. Yeah, I have nostalgic memories of me playing this game back in high school, but it's kind of difficult to have those nostalgic memories because I never stopped playing it. There's just something inherently satisfying about getting a 4-shot with the BR and watching the Spartan do that backflip, or playing SWAT where the origins of the entire playlist came from, and watching the Spartans do a backflip. Some of my favorite maps came from Halo 2 that I would love to see remade, like say Turf. And yes, I know this map exists in El Dorito, that doesn't count, it's not an official Halo game. Moving on. Some official Halo games saw maps in Halo 2 remade countless times because they were so good, like Midship. Halo 2 has a legacy for a reason. It's a damn good game even with all of its faults. But that only leaves one Halo game to put in first place, and that is Halo Combat Evolved. It might not be a very common opinion, but Halo Combat Evolved is so different from the other Halo games. To the people that don't play it, it's defined by the Halo 1 pistol, but by the people that do play it, it's defined by its faster kill times. Halo 1 is a ridiculously punishing game. Things kill you so much faster than the other Halo games, and this works a lot better in my mind. You move slowly, and if you're caught in the wrong place and someone gets a first shot on you, you're probably going to be dead from that pistol from across the map. But at the same time, again, everything else was stronger. Up close, the assault rifle is going to beat the Halo 1 pistol, especially if you combine a double melee. At range, the sniper is going to beat the Halo 1 pistol. Even up close, it's probably going to beat it. The rocket launcher had a ridiculously huge blast radius that would kill you from so far away that if they got that shot off, you're probably dead. On the flip side, it had a pretty big gap between them, so if they missed that rocket shot somehow, you were probably going to kill them. Halo 1 also has my favorite maps in the entire franchise. I cannot tell you how many hours I put into playing Prisoner time and time again. I can't tell you how many hours I put into Chill Out, and I really want Chill Out remade. Yes, we did see it in Halo 3, but that was it, and that was DLC, which really wasn't played too much. I can't tell you how much I love Halo Combat Evolved. It just feels so different from the games that came after it. It's obvious it's still a Halo game, outstrafing and outshooting your opponent still feels remarkably like Halo, which is amazing that they got this down in the first game of the franchise when the multiplayer was an afterthought, but the general pacing and flow of Halo 1 is so much slower yet faster than the games that came after. The punish is so absurd that it's an incredibly volatile game, and I love that. Halo 1 arguably has the biggest skill gap in the entire franchise. When someone is better, you are standing no chance against them. It's a game that is incredibly satisfying when you're on that side and incredibly infuriating when you're on the other side. To me, I remember the highs far more than the lows. I love this game and I doubt I'll ever stop playing it. But now that I've definitely ruffled some jimmies with my opinions, I'm definitely going to be making another one of these videos with the campaigns once they all finally come out on PC for the Master Chief Collection. I'm so excited to finally play Halo on PC. Here's what I've always thought about Halo. Hey, here's a game all about precision and headshots. Have a controller. Fucking thanks, that's exactly what I want. I've owned every Xbox purely for Halo, and now that it's coming out on PC, I won't need to bother, and I can finally use a mouse and keyboard, and we'll be able to see Halo at a level that we've never seen before. But they're also releasing one Halo at a time on PC, so this means I'll be able to analyze every one of the campaigns as we go along, and then once we get to the end, rank them from the worst to the best. As for now, this is my list for the Halo multiplayer. I'm sure you disagree with me and have probably already left a comment, but I hope you've enjoyed the video anyway. If you want to hang out with me over on Twitch, my Twitch is twitch.tv/JerichoGamerDragon. You can see it in the top left. If you subscribe over on Twitch, you'll be able to see my videos one day ahead of time. Same thing goes for my patrons, which you can click on the link in the bottom right to see my Patreon. Thanks all of you for watching, and I will see you next time.